the Savage B17 FV in 17 HMR. Let's check it out. Savage has been known for making really quality firearms for over 100 years. They did have a lull period back in the 80s, but they picked it back up with their bolt action Model 110 in 308. It was one of the most accurate 308 bolt action rifles on the market. And now they have continued to move upward. This is the B17 FV. It's a heavier barrel, 17 HMR. It has a new type stock over the 93 models and just a better action. It has a 10 round rotary box magazine and a lot of other cool things. This is just really a great little rifle, but what's really cool about this rifle is the 17 HMR. There are a lot of changes that have gone on with the new B17 design. They have a lot of different barrel offerings, sight offerings, but one of the things that I really like about the new system is the stock. It's a nice polymer stock, but the way it's designed is really superior to the originals. Make sure the gun is unloaded, remove the magazine, chamber's empty. Here's a little bit of a view of the original stock. In fact, I just purchased this Model 93 just a couple of months ago at Walmart. They were clearing them out. I'm sure they were making room for the new design. But, you know, it's just the standard black polymer stock. You know, just looks like your average black stock. With the new design, they've really modernized the look of it, but even more so the feel of it. The pistol grip is more vertical in angle. Also, it has a higher comb, which makes it a lot easier, especially if you have scopes. But the feel of this stock really just kind of molds to your body. Very similar to the Magpul Hunter X stocks that have come out. I mean, this is just a really much more ergonomic design than the original traditional stock. You can see here just kind of a sloping pistol grip. The stock is really thin. You've got a lot more that you can rest your cheek on with the new B17 design. Going away from the checkered look to more of a grooves and texturing, and this really just kind of fits into the hand. You know, the old stock was fine, it was adequate, but this is really going a step above, and the finish is really nice. These older stocks kind of seem cheap to me, and they are cheap because these rifles are very inexpensive. With the new design, they're still a very reasonably priced, but yet they've got a lot of really great features on it. Much better bolt design with the texturing and just the feel of this. You've got just a round ball here with the original 93. These are pretty decent little rifles, honestly, but this is much more smooth. It's just got a better feel. It's easier to grab hold of and to pull that back. Another big plus is the magazine. Here we have just the old style where you pull it and pull it out. It's a 5 round. Just a regular box magazine. These can be a little tricky at times to be able to put in, as you can see. And here with a box magazine, you just pull down and pull out, and you have a rotary 10 round magazine compared to the 5 round right here. Now, this is honestly a 22 Magnum, but there are models that they have for the 17 HMR just for comparison. Now, these do have some rudimentary sights on here. You have your standard little buckhorn adjustable sights and then a front sight. On the B17 FV, there are no sights, but there are B17 models that have sights. But the one thing that I like better about the Model 93, especially the original, is when they had the Indian head logo. And they've changed it now to this logo. But one of the biggest advances is the Accu Trigger. The Accu Trigger is just renowned for how light it is, and it is fully adjustable, and just how crisp this thing shoots. And just a very crisp snap, no over travel, and it just, the little shoe there really helps to get you lined up ready for your shot. One of the great things, this is adjustable. You can change this out to increase the weight or decrease the weight according to your needs, what you're doing with it. Of course, if you're doing accuracy shooting and plinking is one thing. You're hunting, you want a little more trigger pull. The box magazine comes out really simply. Right here, just bring this lever and it just pops right out. It is the rotary design. It is a 10-round magazine like we discussed. Just snaps right back in. But it's a much better design, of course, than just the plain stamped steel magazines. Now, they moved the safety back here at the tang, which makes it much more ergonomic to be able to get to it, rather than up here right behind your bolt handle. Now, they do make a heavy barreled version, but this is much heavier than your standard barrel. It gives you a little more weight on the end. It is a 21-inch barrel, and it's made from carbon steel. It's a 1 and 9 twist. And the barrel is, it just really gives good balance to the rifle. Now, it does have sling swivels right here, and of course I had a Harris bipod attached to it. Makes it really easy, and then one back here. The Harris bipod obviously doesn't come with it. But the overall weight of the rifle is 6 pounds without your scope. And I've just got one of the rimfire Bushnell, and this is rated actually for the Savage rifles. It's an A17 model, but it's one of their rimfire scopes. It's not a very expensive scope, but there's a lot of really cool features about it, and really goes well with this setup. And the receiver is drilled and tapped. It already has a couple of Weaver type rails, and all you need are rings to be able to attach this, so it's really simple to attach a scope to it. Now, you may be wondering what a 17 HMR is all about. You can see here that it's about the same length as a 22 Magnum, but it's been necked down with a 17 caliber bullet. And then we have the 22 Magnum here, and this is of course 22, and then the 22 long rifle is a 22 caliber. The biggest difference is velocity. The velocity of your 17 HMR is around 25 to 2600 feet per second. In fact, this round is rated at 2650 feet per second. Whereas your 22 Magnum is rated for about 2,050 feet per second, and your 22 CCI Mini Mag is at 1,260 feet per second, which is pretty hot for a 22 long rifle. So the 17 HMR is actually going twice as fast as your 22 long rifle, and that really makes a big difference downrange. With your 22 Magnum, it's still going about 500 feet less per second. So there's a pretty big disparity in velocity with your 17 HMR being at the top. Now, as far as energy goes, your 22 Magnum is at 127 foot-pounds at the muzzle. Your 22 Magnum is 280 foot-pounds at the muzzle, and the 17 HMR is 265 foot-pounds at the muzzle. Now, there's a big change though once we get past that. At 50 yards, 97 foot-pounds, 181 foot-pounds, and 232 foot-pounds. Then at 100 yards, we have 80 foot-pounds of energy. The 22 Magnum is 116, and the 17 HMR is still going 151 foot-pounds. So the 17 HMR is really, because of its velocity, is really giving a lot of energy as far as for hunting. But now this is a 17 grain bullet compared to a 30 grain bullet in the 22 Magnum to a 36 grain in the 22. Now there's a bazillion different types. This is just a generalization to give you an idea of the 17 HMR. But there are different velocities for different rounds that you might use. And really the 17 HMR is really effective out to about 150 to 200 yards, which is superior to the other two calibers. Really with 22 long rifle, 75 to 100 yards is about all you're going to get. The 22 Magnum, you're going to reach on out to probably 125 to 150. but the 17 HMR is going to give you more range. But now one thing to really consider is the ammunition cost. A 22 CCI Mini Mag, just from AmmoSeek, the average price was about 9 cents per round. The 22 Magnum, they're pretty hard to get right now, and they're running about 30 cents per round. The 17 HMR is running about 22 cents per round, and those are fairly lower prices. You may find them higher in different places, but that just gives you an idea of the price difference. One of the things, though, to consider with the 17 HMR if you're hunting game is this is pretty catastrophic against small game. I mean, it really can do a number on like rabbits and things like that, squirrel, and it does cause some problems with harvesting meat at closer distances because the velocity is going so fast. So if you're hunting really small game, that is one thing to consider. We took it down to the range. We put about 300 rounds through it, but one of the big things that impressed me the most was the accuracy. With the 17 HMR, it was a tack driver. The accuracy pretty much speaks for itself. It actually got a little boring. It was so accurate. Just one little hole. I mean, those are just tiny. We were using the CCI A17. It's a 17 grain bullet, and just really a lot of fun. This has been my first real experience with the 17 HMR. I've shot a couple of them, but I've never really spent some trigger time with them. I shot about 300 rounds through this rifle, and this is my initial range day. I just came down, started shooting. Set the scope up this morning, and just a great little package altogether. The accuracy on these is phenomenal. So if you're really looking for something that's, you know, really gets those tight groups, this is going to do it. Plus, the recoil is nothing. I mean, there's no recoil at all, even less than a 22. Of course, you have a really small 17 grain bullet, and but it's just a fun gun to shoot with a little bit of a heavier barrel. It gives it a little more stability, but the gun is still super lightweight. I was pretty excited about getting this rifle out to the range, but I knew I had to set my scope up. And I'll tell you, if I had known then what I know now, I would have gotten it done a lot quicker, because this was just a lot of fun. You know, as far as really small game, rodents, things like that, this would be excellent. But to me, it's just a great little gun to get out and shoot little tiny 1/4 inch and less groups. I mean, the thing just does it. Using this little Bushnell 3.5 to 10 rimfire scope, and it has a lot of cool features to it. I'm going to do a review on it just because it's so neat, but it has a ring up here, especially if you get out to distance, to dial this in and get your focus right. And there's just a lot of little cool features. It's a pretty inexpensive little scope, but it's actually made specifically for Savage rifles. It's called the A17, and I think they've kind of collaborated in some way. Same way with CCI Mini Mags, the A17, to really kind of hone in your rifle. So you're not really running around trying to find the perfect setup. They've kind of already designed it and offered it. So I think that's a pretty cool deal. The way they've designed this stock is really ergonomic. It just fits really good. It's a little bit more modular than their standard older stocks. I have a couple of the regular Savage rifles, and you know, just one of the older models, the model before this, and the stocks are pretty plain Jane. They're fine, they fit well, but this one really comes in with some features just to let you get very comfortable with the stock, and I think that's really important for accuracy. You want to get that cheek well just right, you want to get your grip just right, And the more natural it is feeling, the more you're going to be able to concentrate on getting that accuracy. The Accu Triggers are really very easy to fine tune. I mean, you can set this to whatever you want to. It is adjustable, but it is a very crisp, clean break with no over travel. You can feel the little trigger shoe when it comes down, and then you're set, and then when you pull that trigger, it's just really crisp. Now the magazine, of course, it holds 10 rounds. It just snaps right in. There were a couple of times where I would try to feed it in, especially on a full magazine, and it wouldn't seem to want to go. And I'd have to finagle it just a little bit to get it to ride up in there. But the more, of course, that I did it, I started getting used to how it kind of fit in. So a lot of times things are just a certain way, and once you figure it out, you're good to go. Same thing with loading the magazine. It is a rotary system, very similar to the Ruger 1022. And when you load it, you push it and it just goes in. The next one forces that one down and around. One of the things I was getting was I was trying to just push it and sliding here. What I found is if I get on this edge, I can just push and it'll go right in. Push and go right in. You can just see how they rotate around. So if you fight against that rotation, you could have a little issue. So that was one of the things too that the magazine really was the only part of any kind of question or something that I really wasn't all that thrilled about. But as you can see, once you get started, they just go right in. I was hoping kind of to see if I could have an issue with it, but kind of gotten it down now. And I've got 10 in there. And guys, I've been using CCI mini mags forever. Those are my favorites. I like Stingers too. They make the best rimfire cartridges on the market, in my opinion. They are the highest velocity in a lot of their offerings that anybody else makes. And CCI mini mags, or any of the CCI rimfire products, you're just going to get a good round. So I really like accuracy, I really like reliability, and I think this is a good choice. Savage has really come a long way over the past 20 years, really coming in with their Model 110 bolt guns that were just superbly accurate, and from that time they've really increased. They've got some new things coming up in January that I'm actually pretty excited about, and you'll find out about those. They'll be announced at SHOT Show. But I'll tell you, just taking this out, the recoil is really mild. This day it's a little overcast day. It was pretty cold. This morning it's kind of warmed up a little bit. But I've spent about 3 hours down here just with this rifle, and I'll tell you what, I could spend another 3 hours, except I need to eat lunch. But great rifle, I think something you ought to check out. The retail price on the model B17 FV is $329. I did see it on Gunbroker for about the $250 range. There's not a lot of these out just because this is a brand new rifle. So I think that for under or around $250, this is an excellent option. Savage was kind enough to send the rifle for the test and evaluation. You know, I have a chance to buy this if I want to, and honestly, I'm going to buy it. It's just such a great little rifle to take out and to enjoy. Much better than sending it back. That's at least my 401G, like I always tell my wife. But you know, the scope, just great scope, great system. The CCI A17s and the TNT green, great stuff. And I want to thank Federal Premium and CCI Ammo for sending those. You know, guys, one of the things about doing a lot of reviews is it can cost a lot of money. And even if companies like this send me stuff, I end up buying it anyway. And also buying a lot of other things to go along with this. But it's a labor of love and it's a lot of fun. So, and hopefully it gives you guys some, just an insight in some of the rifles and things that are going on out there to make a good decision whether you want to buy it or not. One thing that I always recommend is for you to go to different reviewers, watch different channels before you make a purchase. Just don't go on one word of one person. And two, one of the great things about that is it keeps us all honest, because if there's a problem with the rifle, we're going to talk about it. Because if we don't, you know, you're going to buy it and you're not going to be happy with it. So, you know, except for the magazine being a little tricky until I really learned how to do it, you know, the rifle's great. The magazine, you know, this is a polymer frame rifle and it's a polymer magazine. But overall, the rifle is just such a pleasure to shoot. It just performed well, and what else can you ask for? Now, if you want more information about the Savage B17 FV, check out savagearms.com. There are so many different model configurations for this rifle, different calibers, and in fact it's a huge list. And so the biggest problem with the Savage 17 HMR is just deciding on which one. But I think that the FV is just excellent. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America, long live the Republic. Where you can go ahead and attach your mounts to it. Okay, and the side. Okay, and the scope. So the HMR